Hey guys, welcome back to Derm Dialogues. I hope you guys are enjoying the change of seasons. They're starting to see the leaves changing and it's really beautiful. I was out in the North Fork this past weekend with my family and we did some socially distanced pumpkin picking. It was still fun. It just was a little, less traditional. We went to Harbs and usually it's just lines and chaos and music and, it was definitely sort of a dialed down version of that. We still had a lot of fun, got lost in a corn maze. My guest has already requested to join.
I'm really excited for today's conversation because we're going to be talking about a topic that a lot of people have questions about, specifically you guys. You have sent me a lot of questions about fragrance. There she is. Hello, Karen Gilbert.
Hello.
I'm giving you a little intro here. So I'm so glad that you were able to join me today. So this is Derm Dialogues. This is a new Instagram Live series that I started just a couple of weeks ago. And the topic today is fragrance in skincare. And that is an area, I think a lot of people, when they think about fragrance, they think about perfumes, they think about cologne, but they don't necessarily think about fragrance in their skincare products that they're using. So of course, I wanted to invite you because Karen Gilbert, for those of you who don't know her, she is an internationally recognized expert in the world of fragrance and perfumery. She teaches an online course and has a book. Tell us a little bit about your journey. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, hey, Whitney, thank you so much for inviting me on. So, I didn't ever intend to go into fragrance. It wasn't one of those things that I thought, I want to join the fragrance world. It was totally accidental, like most of these things are. And I originally went to the London College of Fashion and I was training to become a makeup artist because I thought that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I actually discovered through doing that course that I loved making rather than, the whole kind of like makeup
Applying.
artist industry. Yeah. And I'd always been interested in skincare because when I was a teenager, right from the age of about 13, 14, up until my 20s, I had really bad acne. So I was always really looking for, and I think that's probably why I got into cosmetics because, I was always looking for something to like cover up my bad skin and, products to make my skin feel better. So when I did this course and I discovered that I could learn how to create skincare products, I stayed on a year extra in my course and did a cosmetic science diploma. And that was what I thought I was going to do, formulate skincare products. And, as luck would have it, I did a work placement for a company called IFF, which was an international fragrance house, and discovered that there was this other side to skincare products and product development, which was fragrance. And that's really how I started off. I ended up getting a job with the company, became a fragrance evaluator, worked on, brands for everything from fragrances, fine fragrance, what we traditionally think of as perfume, to fragrance in skincare products, to body products, to toilet cleaner even, and room sprays and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of how I really started. And, I discovered as a part of that I love teaching. And it's kind of led me in a long, winding, roundabout way to where I am today. And, natural products has always been, a real passion of mine. And when I left IFF, I went to work in product development for one of the organic pioneers in skincare and essential oils, really, a company called Neal's Yard Remedies. I'm not sure if you guys have the company there, but I joined when it was quite a small company. And I got to work with the company founder, Romy. So I've kind of seen both sides of the coin, really.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that's just fascinating to me is the psychology behind smell because I've done a
Mm.
lot of consulting over the years for a lot of different skincare brands, and I think before I started doing that, I wasn't really mindful of the fact that when I was using a cleanser, I was using a serum, I didn't really think through the effort and the thought and the psychology and the marketing potential of being very, very specific about the exact type of fragrance that's being used in that product to give the user a very specific user experience, right?
Yeah.
And to sort of represent almost like what the claims of that product are. And it really is an entire world. It's extremely complicated. It's extremely nuanced. So can you tell us a little bit about the psychology behind smell? When you use a fragrance and you use a product, does it create an emotional response, and how does it do that, and how do brands leverage that?
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the things that really fascinated me. And I think it's the main reason why I've kind of stayed within this world and this industry, because I really learned how, exactly, it's the psychology. It's not just about the, we think of aromatherapy in, we choose oils to make us feel a certain way from their chemical perspective. But actually, I discovered that there was this whole other world that was not so much aromatherapy, but they called it aromatology. So it's about, creating this feeling of well-being, or, whatever those product claims were, that needed to support that product. So for example, if you're buying a shampoo and it's for a specific hair type, we've been conditioned by marketers over like the decades to associate particular smells with particular benefits. And
Exactly.
So now if we pick up a shampoo and we're thinking, okay, we see the packaging, we see, what it's supposed to be, the ingredients, and then we smell it and the smell is off. It just doesn't line up with our expectations. We're going to have a feeling that it's not going to work. And, that isn't really based in any, solid scientific fact, but it's the psychology. And
it's
so
an
it's
emotional
really
response.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I get sent a lot of products from a lot of brands, to test and hopefully recommend either to my patients, to the media. And I was just testing, it was a brightening cleanser, and I used it, and I had this very subtle citrus scent, and it sort of woke me up. It felt invigorating. You got that sense, that clean, fresh, it's going to brighten, right? So just like, I love that the brand thought through, okay, like this is supposed to brighten the skin. So what is the fragrance that's going to be associated? Like, for example, if you used a lavender fragrance in that product, there would be almost a dissociation, right? I'd use it and say like, wait, is this really going to do what I think it's going to do?
Totally. It's all, and at the end of the day, fragrance in a product is all about communicating the message of that product on a really subtle level, because, the first thing we do is we open the jar or apply the cream. And most people, I guess, when they're trying a product, they'll put the cream on the back of their hand. And it's like, I defy anyone not to smell it. When you put something on your skin to test it out, doesn't matter what it is, you're always, whether it's a perfume or whether it's a face product, you're always going to smell it. I don't know. Is that just me? Maybe, maybe not.
When people test, now with COVID, we're buying a lot of things online. But when people used to go and purchase or try a sample, they feel the sensorial, does it have a velvety, does it have a slip, does it have a silky texture to it? And then everyone gives it a whiff, right? It's part of that. Do I like this? Am I going to like using this? It's part of that assessment that we all go through. And I think now more than ever during COVID, people are using fragrance and essential oils and lots of different, even candles in their homes. They're almost relying on them more than I think they've ever have before, because some of them do impart a sense of calm. They enrich your environment a little bit. There are some issues with fragrance. So I know some of you sent some questions through. So I'm gonna have you tee up your two products, because I asked you to bring two products to demonstrate.
I've got a couple of other ones as well. But
oh, you do? Wonderful. Because I think it really helps to look at real life examples of, I asked Karen to bring a couple products and just talk us through, like, what was the thought process? Even if she didn't work on these products, what does she think, maybe having worked in this kind of industry for such a long time? I'm sure you can guess, you know, what was the brand thinking? How much effort went to this? You know, when did they start thinking about fragrances compared to the other ingredients in the product, such as like the ones that they're making all the claims for? Like, was fragrance just as important as those things, or sort of an afterthought? But just before you get there, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background that there are over 3,000 different fragrance ingredients that are used in personal care, in cosmetics, in your bronzer, in your foundation, in your cleanser, your oil, your serum, your moisturizer. And what's so fascinating is that they can say fragrance free and still contain lots of fragrances. So, you know, fragrance free really refers to the use of synthetic fragrances. But you can say fragrance free and still have botanical extracts and essential oils and other fragrances, so long as they are natural. So I think a lot of my patients look for what they think are fragrance free if they have sensitive skin or they're concerned about the use of fragrances. And it never even occurs to them that those products actually also have fragrances. And, you know, it's sort of a loophole in the US that a lot of companies can hide behind, you know, words like fragrance or parfum. Which is such an interesting thing as well, because a lot of my patients also don't realize that if the words fragrance or parfum are on the INCI list, that one word can represent between, you know, 20 and 100 individual ingredients. And so if you are combing through the, you know, if say that I, as your dermatologist, say, you know, you are allergic to linalool or you're allergic to this fragrance, you can try to look for that fragrance, but it's very possible that one of those fragrant ingredients might not even be displayed on the label. So fragrance gets very, very nuanced and very complicated. I'd love to hear your thoughts on those things, and then we can walk through some of the products that you brought.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different here. I'm in the UK, so we are still under EU cosmetic regulations, which means that we have to list allergens on the label. So things like linalool, coumarin, geraniol, citronellol, things that have been, there are 26 materials that have been identified as allergens.
There's the 26 fragrances that are the most likely to cause allergies, and those have to be listed. Do they have to be listed? And in Europe, they have to be listed. And a lot of US brands that are trying to also sell in Europe will adhere by those same guidelines. But so one question is, so for example, you know, there's a lot of essential oils contain, say, linalool or limonene, right? And linalool and limonene are one of those 26 allergens that are supposed to be sort of called out on the label. But I've seen brands say that they are not using any of the 26 EU allergens, and yet they do use essential oils in their products. And I'm so confused. How are they doing that? Are they extracting the allergens out of the essential oils?
I mean, I can't say for the US, but in Europe, that would be illegal.
Interesting.
Yeah, because you have to, so if you, for example, if you have lavender oil, in your product, as in the base, lavender oil will contain linalool. So you have to not only put your lavender oil on the list, if you're going to declare it, you don't have to declare it. You can put parfum and still have essential oils made of parfum. So parfum doesn't necessarily mean that it's synthetic. It could be, you know, and is likely to be a combination, you know, sometimes natural, sometimes a combination of both. Synthetic and natural. Most naturals companies have a transparency policy where they will list the essential oils, but they still have to pull out the allergen and list them separately. So that is within the EU. And, you know, it would be great if the US moved towards that, because I do think that it gives people a lot more to work with when they're pulling, you know, they're looking at a label and trying to figure out what's in there.
Transparency is so paramount. So explain that. So guys, this is confusing. So so explain that one more time. So parfum and fragrance can be used to represent either natural, synthetic, or a combination. And the company can then decide to disclose, say, on the website. Like if it says parfum or fragrance on the label, maybe it's because they couldn't fit it on the label. So maybe go to the website, see if maybe they're going to disclose it there, right? But in
Yeah.
the EU, if you use fragrance or parfum and you use, say, an essential oil like lavender that
Yeah.
contains an allergen like linalool, you can
Yeah.
say fragrance slash parfum, but in the EU, you specifically have to say linalool, even on that label, right?
Yeah, so it's if there is an amount, if it's over a certain level in the product, you have to declare it. And here's the thing, it's like if it's
Ah,
over a certain level, you have to declare it. I mean, it's minute. It's like it's in, you know, the decimal places.
okay.
So the likelihood is you would have to declare it, but if it's in a trace amount, under that amount, you don't have to put it on. The reason
Ah,
that a company would use parfum or fragrance is two reasons, really. One, because possibly it wouldn't fit on the label, but primarily, you know, fragrance is, you know, considered to be an art form. It's the intellectual property of the company who created it, the perfumer who created it. And
it's a
so
trade
there is,
secret. It's the secret
yeah, it's a
sauce,
trade
right?
secret. So, and also if you've got like a tiny little bottle or packaging like this, the amount of ingredients that you would have in a fragrance, like there is absolutely no way you would fit them on the label. And it wouldn't be helpful to people either because they wouldn't necessarily know what those things are. And so parfum is a kind of, you know, a shortened version that has been allowed to be put on a label as long as you declare the allergens that are within it. And there is a regulation that most companies, and this is a global thing, there's the IFRA regulations, which are just pertaining to fragrance, and it's a self-regulatory body. And most big brands anyway, I can't speak for the smaller ones, but the big
Yeah.
brands anyway would strive to comply with IFRA regulations. So there will be other things that don't necessarily get declared on the label, but they would be restricted to specific amounts if they've been highlighted to be sensitizers, for example.
Thank you so much. That was so helpful.
You're very welcome.
Okay, so show us some of the products that you have and walk us through this process.
Yeah, so the two products that I brought a lot, well, I brought a couple of other ones along as well, but I wanted to bring things that I'd used and things that I think do really, you know, one product that I think does really well for communicating its message, and another product that didn't do so well for me in communicating the message.
Okay.
So the first one was, am I allowed to say what they are?
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
for sure.
So this one is Elemis Pro Collagen Night Cream, which I really like Elemis. I think they've, you know, for me, I've got quite a sensitive skin.
Me too.
I generally don't use a lot of skincare product. I
Same.
generally just use a cleanser, a cleansing balm that I use that I make myself, and often just like a facial oil that I've whipped up myself. But
Okay.
as I'm getting older, you know, I never used a night cream before in my life until the last few years. You know, I hit kind of, you know, I'm not going to say, but, you know, when you hit a certain age, you need a little bit of extra help. So, so this product I really like, which is their marine cream range, and I think the day cream and the night cream smell very similar. And when I smell this, it's a creamy, it's a white floral, so it's very rich and luxurious. And companies generally use the white floral, so things like jasmine, tuberose, those kind of notes to really denote luxury. So you know, it's quite a, you know, it's an expensive-ish cream.
Right.
And when you're using it, you want to feel like you've got that luxurious experience. And, you know, when I put this on at night, it kind of makes me feel, you know, that I'm doing something great for my skin, that I'm really nourishing it. And that, for me, the scent in this really gets across the message.
Now, with that specific fragrance, is that listed as fragrance slash parfum, or was that company transparent and actually list out all the ingredients?
And off the top of my head, without going to their website, because I haven't got the box of this,
Yeah, yeah. I won't hold you
but
to it.
I think, yeah, Elemis have a kind of a sort of a reputation for using a lot of naturals and a lot of
Okay.
essential oils. But they do use synthetics as well, and they use parfum. So I imagine, without checking it, I don't know 100%, but there's definitely smelling it. this isn't 100% natural fragrance. I mean, I can just tell that from experience of what you can and can't do with naturals,
Yeah.
but this is definitely not an all natural
If you
fragrance.
had to guess how many fragrances are in that, like how many individual ingredients, and again, I'm not
Ingredient.
going to hold you to it, individual ingredients, because I think this is mind blowing. Because I also have several creams very similar. They have
Mm.
sort of a really gentle floral aroma to them. It's so subtle. Like
Yeah.
honestly, before I even started sort of, looking into this, from my area of expertise and working with brands, I wouldn't have even thought twice. That I wouldn't have thought,
Yeah.
oh, this. I thought, oh, what is this supposed to do? Oh, fine lines, wrinkles, collagen. What ingredients does it have in it?
Yeah.
Oh, hyaluronic acid. Oh, it's got a little bit of these antioxidants in it. Like it didn't even occur to me to think about the fragrance. And then when I sort of looked into it for big brands that I just never even really thought that they had fragrance. And then I smelled them like, oh, I really like that. It's really subtle. It must be like one or two ingredients. And then the company actually said to me, like, oh no, there's about 90 ingredients in there
Yeah.
to
And I
create
think it
that really
depends.
subtle fragrance.
Yeah, and it depends, right? So the thing with skincare products, you don't want a fragrance in there to last a long, not like a perfume. You want your perfume to last all day, maybe, but you don't want to be
It has
walking around with
staying
the smell
power.
of, you don't need that. It's really just the experience in the moment. So
Application.
yeah,
It's putting it on. It doesn't have to have that
yeah.
lasting, that staying power, the same way that, say, a little drop of a perfume would have to have, right?
Exactly. I mean, there would be, it depends on the perfumer, it depends on the product, but you're going to have, upwards of, I mean, a lot of companies, a lot of perfumery houses now use what we call short formulas, so 20, 30 materials,
So
but
guys, back up. That's a short formula. Okay, 20 to 30. I think that from my patients who, don't even like, they have sensitive skin, they have a couple of allergies, maybe they had a history of eczema, they get some dry patches on their eyes, and, they buy a product and it says parfum or it says fragrance, and the inky list doesn't look that long. And when I actually start explaining to them, like, wait, just the fact that it has parfum or fragrance in it, that, that could have a lot of different ingredients. I don't think
yeah,
that people realize that a short ingredient list is 20 to 30 extra
yeah,
ingredients that you
and it
may
could
not
be upwards
even know
of,
they are. I hung up on somebody. So
oh, that's, I thought
you
it was me.
you you may not even be able to, like, some brands are really being transparent and they're saying, okay, these are the ingredients, these are the 20, 30, 40, 50 ingredients that we're using. But there's some brands that are not being transparent. And if you as a consumer are concerned about allergies, irritants, any kind of a problem with your skin, or if you're worried about endocrine disruptors or other ingredients that you're just concerned about, if you don't have access to those ingredients, it becomes a very hard decision, and shopping becomes
Yeah,
very, very challenging. Sorry to
yeah,
harp on
and
that. It's just the short list, 20 to 30 ingredients. Like
yeah, it
from
is,
my
there's
perspective,
a
that's
lot.
mind blowing.
And so the other well, I wanted to just, this one that I got this morning, actually, that I just wanted to pull in as just a like completely different take on it. So this is a La Roche-Posay, and it's a French pharmacy brand. And this was specifically for, it says, for sensitive skin. And one of the things that I noticed about the ingredient listing on the box, it has got parfum, but there are no allergens listed on it, which means that although it's got parfum, and smelling it, it would be there would be synthetics in there as well.
Yeah.
There are no allergens. So that's another thing to look for as well. So if you have got sensitive skin, it's not necessarily just fragrance, but it's like the allergens in there. And this is a very, I really, this does a great job of fragrance for me, because when I look at this product, and it's a French pharmacy product, when I smell it, it smells quite functional. It's like fresh. It's a little bit like suntan lotion, fresh floral, but it brings back a memory of going to France and running out of moisturizer or something and just buying something that I didn't really know what it was, but it looked kind of like moisturizer. And it felt nice, clean, fresh. And to me, that just says French pharmacy in my
Yeah.
mind. So that was a good one. And then the final one that I brought along was a Beauty Pie product, called Super Healthy Skin, and I really wanted to love this. But I did find that I couldn't use it because it's Super Healthy Skin, the ultimate anti-aging cream. But when I used it, the scent is one, really strong and overpowering for me personally. It smells of baby powder. It's like, I mean, it's a beautiful fragrance and I would love it in a body cream. But on my face, I put it on my face and even like an hour later, I could still smell it on my face.
Still smell it.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's, you know, but that put me off using the product because I just don't want that smell of baby powder on, you know, on my skin.
Number
not
one,
on my
too
face.
potent, too powerful. And number two, incongruous with the experience. Like the way you described that first product where you smell it and it has those floral, you know, notes to it. And it's sort of very sort of luxury, premium, what you would expect, sort of calming. This fragrance didn't give you the emotional and psychological experience that you were looking for.
No, exactly. And I think it does have that, you know, a lot of face creams do have that kind of caring, cosmetic-y, kind of soft scent to them that kind of denotes nourishing. But for me, the powderiness and that association, to me, it was a body product, not a face product. So
I respect your nose. I feel like I love the fact that you can. This one has a little bit of synthetic, you know, ingredients in it. This one, like I've gone through many of these fragrance trainings, and at the beginning, I'm holding up these little testing strips and I'm being told to layer them and put them on top of each other to sort of put the different notes together into an accord. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I need to do this about 100 more times before you can go like this in front of my nose and I can tell you, like, oh, this has notes of this and this and this, and you know, it's practice. It takes a lot of practice, and there's obviously schools. I know someone who teaches at that kind of a school. Wink, wink. But it's very interesting that, I think that the people don't really think through, you know, how complicated fragrance is when it comes to skincare. And it really is. When I'm speaking to brands who are developing products, oftentimes they'll start reaching out to someone like you, or they'll reach out to an IFF. They'll reach out to the fragrance makers at the same time that they start sourcing the active ingredients that are going to be the humectants and the emollients and potentially, you know, the collagen stimulating and antioxidant ingredients. We have a couple of questions here. Do we need fragrance in our skincare? So that's a great question. Do we need fragrance in our skincare? So as far as a functional sort of quality is fragrance. Some fragrances, for example, like cucumber extract, also add some benefits. They can be anti-inflammatory, they can be antioxidant. So there are some fragrances that do have sort of a dual purpose. Fragrance can also affect what I call the mind-skin connection. So by affecting our psychology, it can actually dial down stress levels and have an indirect impact on our skin. But when you think about, like, are a lot of the fragrances doing anything in the skin? No. Many of them don't have a benefit directly to the skin, and many of them potentially put you at risk. The number one reason that we see skin allergies and irritation in the office is actually from fragrance. So a lot of the time, fragrance is actually detrimental and doing some harm. But Karen, speak about masking fragrances because I personally tested a lot of ingredients and products that are in the making, you know, as companies are sort of developing the products, and you smell the actual product, that what we call the base of the product, and it's it's off-putting. No matter how good that great quality's got these amazing actives, these amazing nourishing ingredients, you would never use it if it smelled like that. So sometimes people use something called a masking. So can you speak to masking fragrances?
So exactly right. You know, you've got the kind of emotional connection to the product and the user experience, and that kind of goes both ways. You know, if you have this amazing product, but it smells so bad, like nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to have a great experience using it. And I think it just depends. And I don't think I brought one. There's a particular, this little green oil I use on my skin all the time, and it's called tamanu oil. And this is just neat, and it's really great for blemishes, but the smell of it I mean, I quite like it and I've grown to like it, but it smells kind of, I don't know, green, mulchy, earthy, like you just dug it up out of the ground.
Like you
And
just
so,
mowed the lawn and you put it on your
yeah,
face.
exactly. And mix some
Okay.
earth in there. And, I could see that if someone was developing a product with this in it, it would be really hard to, get buy-in from certain people. Some people might think, okay, it's great, it's really natural, but others would be like, I'm not putting that anywhere near my face. And so in that situation, you need to really develop a fragrance that's not so much a perfume, but something that counterbalances the scent in the base to make it either neutral or, make it more palatable for the end user. Does that make sense? So it's
That
not
makes
so much,
perfect sense to me.
yeah, so even if you don't want to put a fragrance in there, sometimes the ingredients, especially if you're using a lot of natural base oils, some of the nut oils and, some of the natural, even, emulsifiers have got specific scents and they smell a bit crayony and,
Crayons. I've smelled things that smell like Crayola crayons, and the company
yeah,
will say, "Oh, don't
waxy,
pay attention to the smell because we're going to be adding, the fragrance blend last." And
yeah.
it's hard not to pay attention. You're like, "Ooh, that smells like I'm putting a box of crayons." I know we're running out of time. I do want to. I got another question here.
Mm.
Which essential oils are more prone to cause irritation? So. I think we have had a lot of questions about essential oils. So if you want to sort of wrap up with giving just I know that people there's so many wonderful things about essential oils.
Yeah,
There's also the a major risk when it comes to allergies. So anything that you could offer as far as sort of navigating that world of essential oils in leave-on skincare, would be
yeah,
so
it's a bit of a
helpful.
minefield. It is a bit of a minefield. And, here's the thing, any fragrance material, whether it's an essential oil or whether it's a synthetic fragrance material, has got the potential to be an irritant, and a sensitive, it just depends. Everybody is so, so different. And rather than, it's really hard to say, oh, this particular material is going to cause you a problem, because it just really depends on the person. I have my skin, I love fragrance, I love naturals, I love essential oils, but I tend not to use essential oils on my face, just because many of them cause me to have a bit of an itchy skin, and they just don't work for me, which is,
Yeah.
ironic, right?
Can
Whereas
you
some
tolerate
synthetic,
them in like wash off, like a body wash or
yeah,
a hand
and
wash
body products as well. Body
and body
products,
products? So even
fine.
leave-on body products, you don't mind if
Yeah,
there's essential oil in
absolutely,
there. Okay.
absolutely fine. Yeah, and I think it's just a case of finding, like, always just testing what works for you and what doesn't. Also, it's about the level as well. If you're, mixing stuff up yourself, then you can control the level of it. A lot of companies who use essential oils as their fragrance in their products, use, probably more essential oils than a synthetic fragrance would have in them. And so you've
Because
got
they're
more
relying
potential for
on
allergies.
those fragrances, so they need more
Yeah,
of them. Whereas with the if you add synthetics, then you can sort of dial down the essential oils and rely on some of the other
yeah,
ingredients.
exactly.
Okay.
And oftentimes, you find that from a skin reaction perspective anyway, the less naturals you've got in terms of essential oils, the less allergens you've got in your product. And people always say, oh, I want to create an allergen free product with naturals only, and it's kind of a misnomer really, because essential oils
I
are
am so
packed
grateful that you
full of
said
them.
that. I think that that's one of the biggest confusing issues in my practice is my patients will say, "Oh, I had a reaction," or "I had very sensitive skin." Sorry, my earbuds just fall out all the time because my ears are small. They don't fit. It's very annoying. So they'll say, I developed a reaction, or I developed sensitive skin, or I started having a rash, so I switched to all natural or 100% organic skincare, and it made it so much worse what's going on. And I think what you just explained is that natural, and I'm a lover of natural things
Yeah,
too,
it's just such a shame.
natural is not always safe for the skin. Sometimes and oftentimes natural ingredients are more likely to cause skin reactions, irritation, as well as allergy. And oftentimes natural ingredients are not being sourced in a sustainable way. Just because something is natural doesn't mean it's actually being harvested in a way that's good for the environment. And I think those are, I could have you back because I feel like those are topics we have to address in a future live, because I think they're major misconceptions.
Yeah, I've got blog posts on that as well. It's just one of those things that it's not always the way that we would love it to be. You know, in an ideal world, you know, we could say, oh, you know, natural is best. It's better for the planet. It's better for our skin. But that isn't always the case. You know, some people tolerate naturals really, really well on their skin, and some people just don't. And, you know, I always felt, when I was working at Neil's Yard and I was in product development, I always felt like a little bit of a fraud, you know, because I was like, I can't use any of these products on my face. And I was just using something from, you know, just a mainstream cosmetic company because,
Right.
you know, everything that I tried with essential oils just made my skin itch. So, yeah.
You are so enlightening. I feel like this, I have learned so much in the last half
Oh,
hour,
you're very welcome.
and you're so honest. And I really, really appreciate that. I'm going to be posting this on my grid so that people can continue to watch it over the next couple of days. They
Yeah,
may ask some questions, you know, please feel free to chime in, you know, and
I'm
if you
happy
have a
to.
blog that's related to that, like absolutely share the link. You know, I really, really appreciate, you know, you're taking the time today, because this is such a confusing topic for so many people, even
It
for, you
totally
know,
is.
board certified dermatologists. It's just fragrance is this whole sort of like, you know, pit. It's this black, dark, confusing, complicated pit, and a lot of people are
Yeah,
not honest about it. So thank you so much for coming today.
you're
Thank you
very
so much
welcome.
for giving your expert opinion. All right, guys, be
Thank you so
well
much for inviting
and
me. Thanks.
take care, Karen. I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, cheers, bye.